yes. I just need to obtain a picture of patrol map of the cops using the vehicles for a particular location.
Obtain a full picture, so just the
Yeah, just a map. Yeah.
sections.
Yeah, just for my own. I have an investigation of a person attorney for a case. Just whatever they use in their vehicle.
So,
Very
let
simple.
me pull back because I'm not sure I'm allowed to give it out, but let me just
Yeah.
check and see.
Thanks.
Hey Joey, this is Ken. So I have a gentleman up here who's wondering if, I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, there's like patrol, like, the patrol map that officers use, or, like, there are different sections and everything like that. If we have that map or anything, then they'll you guys, and I do that as a requirement. Yeah, you all, you're here.
They seem to be forgetting.
Yeah.
I'm glad to do that.
I think we just reverse it. Okay.
Well, I got Baker List in the big name tobacco property, and it's been public property for years. He said I say next to it illegally. So I was trying to get hold of the map, but they shouldn't use that. Simple as that. Not so simple. I mean, the whole case is hard to drop. It was really easy. You have to go online and you find a file from 10. So dead simple. They tried to basically cover up. They didn't take the call of the person who was offensive. So they ended up kind of inadvertently enforcing the stolen land. It's kind of funny. It was a sting, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's weird. There's a lot of things that don't make sense, man.
You want to say, my brother and I have caught so much fraud in the last 2 years. We ended up having to put up on YouTube to get to our cases. Look at the guilty until proven innocent on YouTube. Watch it all there. 30 cases. It's scary shit.
I'm fighting something. I'm the victim on the case, and I have to do community hours for me to take it to court.
I hear you. Well, I've actually seen this before of just the jurisdictions. But thanks, I've always wanted a physical copy. I once had an officer show me a different area of what his actual computer control vehicle map had. And it was a pretty accurate reflection of the GIS FC Maps program.
So, because I don't have access to any of that, so this is what you were talking about.
Yeah,
so,
no. Yeah.
So you're talking about like a copy of.
If they were to turn around, go into their vehicle, open up their laptop, and say, "What's that?" You know, I just, I wanted to take a snapshot of the computer, or if they could do a print screen. I've been in here, and they showed me black and white map of the they used, but it was definitely not the same as what I saw. So I kind of know what's out.
Yeah, so I don't know if they have access to
Yeah.
the same thing as police officers.
Yeah, if I didn't have like a cop outside, on his way to work, just show me real quick. I just need to see a section of a
I
place.
could.
That's all. Very simple. Nothing fancy.
What was the GIS system you said?
It's it looks like it was a reflection of the FC maps. So gisweb.fcgov.com. That's kind of your guys' official source for stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, let me walk back. Sir, is there anything I can help you with? I'll walk back.
Sure.
Is that internal thing?
Yes.
So you have to call me.
Were you able to get what you were looking for? That's the phone number that you call them and set up the plan with Jackie Pearson and Gary Coleman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. By the way,
I'll check the website.
yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that it was a picture of whatever they actually have in their computers for what is offered via the patrol vehicles. I think the word Maverick map system, someone told me that, I don't know. If it's just what GIS web, I mean, I've already gone on to the website, so I kind of know what that is. I just want to see what the cops would be using to determine a particular area themselves if they were to their vehicles.
Yeah, let me,
Big, no worries. verdict.
So they said that, with this system, because it is confidential information, that they're not able to give out the zoning or maps or anything like that, that the police officers use because it displays route patrol and everything like that.
I was
So
shown
is-
that map from an officer at
Well,
one point in time.
If you're doing it with that, yeah, but here at the police department, it's up to the officer of discretion. If they are with someone, they can provide that, but here with like all the mapping that we do, they said that we can't get that. So,
I guess you could, let me ask where you received the information from.
I received that from the records department, and they said that it was the same thing,
Okay,
from a couple others.
so when it comes to confidential information, I'm having to defend myself in a case that it's already been dropped. So this is more before the QSC court to see what the officers had access to that they didn't use that night. And so nothing's confidential, especially in the sense of, I don't know, we as taxpayers paid for that whole system. And so, is that something I need to literally subpoena to get then? It's just a map for what they were supposed to be using that night.
Yeah, well, the map system, like I said, displays patrol routes and everything like that, because they said it's essentially like a GPS, so it displays patrol routes and everything, you know, officer safety and stuff like that, people know their routes and everything like that, but, if you want a subpoena, you can, but
Okay, so
I'm not
in
giving you legal advice
yeah,
or
but if
anything
you
like
put
that.
yourself in my
I'm
position,
I'm just-
how am I supposed to know what the cops were supposed to be using that night? Because they use patrol maps, right? And so it's like that's not public information what we give them to use in the first place.
Well, like I said, I'm just passing on information.
Oh, actually, can you,
So I'm just passing on information what they told me.
let's put it this way. You can turn off layers, so I imagine you can turn off the confidential information of their patrol vehicle or their patrol routes and just show a map of what jurisdictions they have. Can you go can you ask them if that's
Jurisdiction
possible?
you talked about,
To know what's public or private. What does a cop use to determine if it's a public or private area?
okay.
They obviously have to look at something. And so I'm just trying to know what the cops should have been using that night, because what they did was they considered this area to be private property, and it's not private property. And so the cops weren't using all their tools at their disposal. They also weren't knowing the definitions of right of way and so forth.
Well, were you
So-
contacted by, Streets and Zoning, or did you speak anyone?
Oh, yeah, no, it's all public land. I was the one who sent the takedown notice for the fence that went illegally up in this public land
Okay.
that the cops considered private property.
Mhm.
So I've already, I'm good friends with that, zoning, GIS, engineering, survey. And so I'm just trying to get a hold of what the cops are supposed to be using. Also, in general, to file an internal affairs report that I've been trying to do. I've talked to Kenton, Murphy, Pearson, Horton, many times over this. I've requested this map from them many times over the last couple of years. The case is still going. So, could you possibly go back to the records farm and see if there's a way that I can get something that is generic, that just simply reflects what they're supposed to know to use to identify what's public versus
You mean just the operating system that they use?
Uh,
That's,
just
I guess I'm
a-
confused by your question.
just a picture of the area that, if they have the capacity to turn off the confidential part of the information, just to show what we offer them for jurisdiction for public versus private land. I mean, because when someone makes a call, they have to, they can't just take someone's word for it, but I imagine they would need to just go with their patrol map. Like I said, I've seen that, and when I saw that picture of the officer that he showed me, it was zoomed out enough that I would have seen patrol routes and so forth, and so I have a hard time believing that's accurate information. That is patrol. Like, it's just, we're talking, if you guys don't want to provide that information, it doesn't look very good for the public, because the public is trying to do an investigation. We're just trying to figure out what we give them to use To determine public-private.
Let me just confirm, so you're wanting to see, like a zoning map pretty much to determining what is private and what is public, but in relation to what patrol officers,
Are given to use in their vehicles.
so, well, you already know the system, like I said, this is what they told me, I'm just passing information along to you. So, you can try to, you said you spoke with Kinvin.
They won't answer my calls, period. They literally think I'm a lawsuit scammer. They've told me this. And I'm literally trying to just get information at this point that I'm not being given. It's really disappointing. It's, so when they won't give me those calls back, chief of police won't give me a call back. Administration, Dave Haywood, investigation, nobody wants to touch me because, I'll put it this way. I jumped this fence that was illegally placed in this right of way, and I provided a takedown notice for this fence. And the officers are supposed to be able to use the idea that the takedown notice said right of way, and that it said that it was a violation of the municipal code, which is a misdemeanor, to put up a fence illegally, 2384. And they denied that, and they decided to put private property down. And so I'm going to 42 U.S.C. court because my rights have been infringed, I believe, of the Fourth Amendment to be unlawfully seized. And I'm just trying to figure out what they were supposed to be using that night, but they didn't. Simple as that. No one wants to give me that. Everyone is lawyering up. And so I'm trying to do the good faith thing of basically seeing if I can get that information so that I don't have to go to court and say that I tried to get that information but no one gave it to me. Because it would be in their best interest to give that up, because they're going to have to say the alternative would be to go to actual court and for them to say that they didn't use that night. And so that's kind of weird because they would be tasked, I mean, naturally speaking, when I mentioned that this was a right-of-way and it was a 100-foot right-of-way, look at the city plats and things like that. I mentioned the Robinson Pearsall Plaza, you go look at the city docks, you look at the plat for that. I'm just trying to get to what did they not use when they could have turned around, walked 5 feet while I'm hanging out in this fence area and used to go see that it was public. And then they tried to freeze frame their investigation where it was to maybe hide that they didn't have the probable cause. And so obviously when they're claiming that it's private property, where are they getting that information from? They're, obviously this map is not going to reflect that private property, so I know that they didn't use the map. And they basically guessed that it was a nearby business. Actually, they kind of used a strange triple logic real quick. From what I can gather, they said, and what I think that's going through their minds is, well, yeah, the nearby business, they put up a fence to keep people restricted from their property. But then how do you know it's their property? Well, they put up a fence to restrict permission. How do you know that they're the ones that put up the fence? Well, it's their property and they wanted to restrict people. And so there's no actual tangible evidence that that was their property, that the nearby business put up the fence, and that the nearby business wanted people to not be there. For all we know, people wanted to be there. The whole point is that fence was illegally constructed by that nearby business without a permit. They hadn't gotten a minor amendment and yet to replace the rocks or replace the benches with rocks. And so essentially the cops upheld stolen land that they're supposed to be doing the opposite. They're supposed to be taking that call of the 2384 and upholding my right to use that land. And so they wrote private property trespassing thing. The case got dismissed. Very easy. All I did was show the city manager, the district attorney, a 143-year-old plat of the town that shows all of the parcels are in block form and all of the streets are standing 100 rights away. And so what I'm trying to say is, if the police don't want to provide that type of information, that's actually hurting them in their case. That literally does absolutely nothing but help my case. And so I just, I don't know if there's somebody else you can talk to that's in the police force that can explain that, like with either internal affairs or investigations. But it's kind of like, boy, if you guys want to say that confidential information. It's not confidential, the information that we provide them for jurisdiction. As in, you should be able to go up to ask your cop, hey, is that public property? And he's supposed to be able to go into the patrol vehicle, look at it, maybe not see it, show it, but come on, at least tell me that it is public
So
land.
I think it might have been a little bit of miscommunication on my part, because I thought that you were looking for control routes.
Oh, yeah, no.
Specific officer movements. So I
Yeah,
think that was a little bit of miscommunication there, but like I said, I mean, I can go back there and try to get a little bit more information for you, but,
yeah,
I
if you
think that
could.
everything's gonna be,
Most of the time, I know,
my pay grade, so.
Yeah, I
I'm just
understand.
gonna go through all those folks and try to get that.
yeah, but like I said, I imagine that officer would be in violation of policy for him to show me that map, and it definitely didn't have any control. It was just like I said, it almost identically. It looked like it was the FC Maps GIS program, the GIS department, but I don't know, and so I don't want to just reflect the maps of the GIS department, because those are always accurate, but they're always from the city side. So I just simply want to see what the cops are able to tell, public or private, if somebody goes and asks them, or if they're doing a little investigation. Because, yeah, I mean, on one hand, I've been told cops don't have to know boundary lines or surveys, because that's not their job. But it obviously is their job if it's like literally looking at a physical map to see that it's public or private. As in, there's no actual controversy over what is public or what is private. It's just, what does a cop see and what is it? Yeah. And I'm pretty sure if you can ask, thank you, with regards to if there is only one mapping program they have on their computer, if they can turn off the layers, that would be the confidential sections, so that I could just see what the public section is of what we offer them.
So,
Yeah, thanks for understanding.
Just to be a very private.
Public or private? Yeah. Yeah, if it's that kind of granular detail. The map I saw that the officer was of a different area. It showed a boundary map of a national area, and it was very accurate. And so it's kind of like, what do you guys use for enforcing park curfews too? If someone's in a park, how do you know they're in a park? You can look at a map to see what the park is. And so naturally, it's just really rudimentary stuff I'm asking. So
Oh, yeah, let me go back there and,
I really appreciate that.
I'll clarify that.
Yeah, I'm not interested in control route
Yeah, let me,
crap like that. So
go back real quick, so,
thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right, what's the revised verdict?
So, this is what they told me, they said that, the system that they use, the map that you solve, it, doesn't designate private or public property, it doesn't have, the city limit, and, lines and everything like that, this is what they told me, so they said that there's no designated, maps, it's just a basic city map of the area, and so they have addresses, everything like that. And they said that if you want to get a copy of that map for the specific incident that you're requesting, you have to put in a formal request through the police department, and it would get reviewed, and then they would contact you. That's what they told me.
Interesting.
That's what they told me.
So they don't even use the GIS program of like their city's GIS department? Isn't that kind of strange?
That's what they told me. Like I said, I'm not a patrol officer, so
Yeah.
this is what they told me. So I don't know if that's going to be different based, because a lot of the information they get is based on dispatch. So dispatch may have that information, but the patrol officer has what they told me, that they only have, just the basic city map electronically that provides addresses and everything like that, but private, all their designated lines.
Could you possibly go back and ask them if it shows boundary maps for parks?
For parks, they said it doesn't have boundary maps.
Let's see.
Is that the one that you? So
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Okay, that's what they told me. So there's obviously some
So,
miscommunication.
how do they know what to patrol for parks boundary?
Parks and boundaries. That's were you talking to a park ranger?
No, I was a police officer.
Okay, then this is all the information that they provided. So
Could, just on a different level, I apologize, but this is really, really important. I've been working on this case for a few years. They're systematically trying to not provide this information, I think, because I think caught them in some sort of law. But the problem is I saw a map that showed the boundaries for Gustav Spectacular. So how would they determine where their map, what to patrol? How do they, when someone's in a park, how do they know what is the park? Could you possibly ask them if there's a map that they use to determine what park boundaries are? I have another case where there was a issue with the park boundaries. They went to the park department they never specified what they were requesting. The Parks Department gave them a moving a trash pickup map, basically, and it included parts of the right of way in it. And so, you go online to the GIS system offered by the city, standard maps offered for all the parks. There's the lake, you turn on and off. So, could you possibly ask them if there's a map that they can offer for what the boundaries are for their parks, to know what the boundaries are for the parks? Thanks. Because I mean, that would be an easier way to describe what I'm asking, because they obviously need to know what their boundaries are for parks.
So they said, park boundaries aren't on the map, so, this is all the information that they're given to me.
So, I have to inform you because I feel like you are personally being given the runaround. I had recorded the incident of that officer showing me that map. I didn't take a picture of it, but the entire event was pretty basic. And, he had ticketed me outside of that boundary area, and so he didn't know that I was sort of setting him up for a question that he wasn't ready to answer. And when he pulled up the map, I asked him where I was in the park, and he got real nervous and said, and went off. But he clearly had a map that he had no trouble pulling up whatsoever of what the park boundaries were. And so, for you guys, police department, I don't know, generalize, but for the police department to claim that they don't have a way to differentiate park boundaries for patrol purposes, for enforcing park curfews, it's a lie. It's a flat-out fabrication. I saw the map, and if they don't have those maps, how do they know what the parks are? I mean, naturally, the parks, in order to secure a conviction, you still have to be in a designated and posted area. And so my brother won that municipal trial from that map that was in the Parks Department, because it doesn't matter what a map is. If the person isn't told via a sign, it's kind of a due process violation. So this is what you're enforcing. And so it's just really disturbing that cops can lawyer up, and then departments can lawyer up and say, we can't provide any information, or now we're saying that we don't even have information to patrol with. Yeah, I understand. Boy. The real concerning thing, I mean, if you want to look my channel up, I highly encourage it. I've had to document this vehemently for 2 years now, because no one wants to believe this, but it's called Guilty Until Proven Innocent, the actual channel. That night that I got arrested for private property trespassing, I gave him this email that said, this fence is within the public right-of-way. There is no permit for it. It's an encroachment. It needs to be removed within 10 days because it's a violation of the code. And the actual business owner themselves was in that same email. They were saying that it was a temporary safety precaution until they can get the minor amendment in. And so a minor amendment you wouldn't need for private property. You could just do whatever you want with your own private property. And so everything pointed to the side of public property, and they thought they could lie and cover up. They didn't mention the email that I gave to us in the warrantless arrest affidavit, so the judge signed off on what they thought was just a typical private property trespassing, just like anything else. And they lied, and they covered up, because they said, right when I jumped ahead, we got probable cause for trespassing. And they were not expecting me to exonerate myself with exculpatory evidence, that I have a right to be there. You should be enforcing that area against people stealing it, putting up fences without permits. And they thought they could put private property down, and there's no shred of evidence that they have for private property. And now they're saying they don't even have maps they would otherwise use So what are the police department doing with our taxpayer dollars with this 21st century technology that we're giving them? And by the way, the definition of right of way, they're supposed to know too, which includes everything between the property boundary lines, which includes both sidewalks and streets, and what do they call it? Whatever. The whole point is it's 1742. It's really disappointing.